It's easy to think of mythical creatures as something like dragons or phoenixes or anything from Monster Hunter at this point, but we do have a lot of mythical creatures in our own right. In this video, we have a deer or possibly a zebra, a fanged deer, and a unicorn, sort of. The Superb Bird of Paradise. For the Superb Bird of Paradise, it's the males that matter as far as unusual appearances are concerned. To attract females, they have an iridescent crown, a blue breast shield, and elongated nape feathers. During their courtship rituals, the male morphs into a disc-shaped blue and black smiley face, which is irresistible to most females. Once the wooing is over, though, the males disappear, leaving their female counterparts to build a nest and attend to the kids. The whole process takes slightly over a month, with incubation and nestling running for 18 days each. Unlike most of the other bird species that breed during specific months, superb birds of paradise do it all year round. The Blue Dragon. Just the name indicates, the blue dragon has a distinctive blue belly that, aside from being a beauty statement, helps the slug blend in with the water surface as well as reflect harmful UV rays. Unlike most animals, though, it travels belly up, depending on the wind and water currents for movement. While it's attractive to the eye, the blue dragon is certainly not touch-friendly, and it's all thanks to its diet. The colorful sea slug feeds on a venomous hydrosian known as the Portuguese man of war, and has devised a way of storing the venom in its numerous finger-like projections. Apart from the excruciating pain, the sting could lead to skin redness, nausea, vomiting, and acute allergic dermatitis, among other problems. The Leafy Sea Dragon. Still on dragons, the Leafy Sea Dragon, although smaller, is close enough to what the mythical creature might have looked like. Aside from the dragon-like look, leafies are also known for leaf-like appendages along their entire bodies. At a glance, these appendages might look like they help the animals move, but no, they're actually used as camouflage, blending into the seaweed that leaf dragons call home. For movement, the leafies have two fins that are so thin and transparent that it's almost impossible to see their movements. This helps the animals keep up their illusion of floating seaweed. Interestingly enough about the sea dragons is that the males also carry and incubate the eggs to term. The Streaked Tenrec. Endemic to the Madagascar's jungles, streaked tenrecs are like smaller and more decorated versions of hedgehogs with some superpowers. The tiny mammals grow to lengths of just over 5 inches, and their bodies are covered with black and yellow quills that serve two different functions. When threatened, a tenrec erects its quills, producing a sound as they vibrate as a warning to the would-be predators. The quill, erection, and vibration are also common when two males are fighting or when the males are just meeting for the first time. The little mammals also use the quills to talk to each other through a process called stridulation, which basically involves rubbing different body parts together, quills in this case, to produce sound. The streaked tenrecs are the only mammals to communicate this way, and the sound produced is so high-pitched that it's impossible for us to hear. The Star-Nosed Mole. In the world of weird animals, the star-nosed mole is probably one of the weirdest, if not the weirdest. That's thanks in part to its nose. Instead of just having a pair of nostrils, the mole went a bit extra with over 20 appendages that gave it an otherworldly appearance. However, the one-of-a-kind nose isn't just for show. It's one of the main parts that keeps the mole's stomach full. Equipped with over 100,000 nerve fibers, the nose is like a living walking stick in the dark pits that this mole lives in. Touching over 10 different places per second, it helps precisely locate potential prey and whether or not it's worth going after. This decision is arrived in as little as 120 milliseconds, making the star-nosed mole the fastest eating animal. Okapi. Despite looking like a cross between a deer and a zebra, the Okapi is actually related to neither of them. Native to the Ituri forest in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the animal is the only living relative of the giraffe, and it really does show. Just like its giraffe cousin, the Okapi has a considerably long neck and tongue that help with foraging. And thanks to their unique coat pattern, these animals can easily blend in with their surroundings, which is one of the reasons they're harder to come by. Also, most Okapi don't usually vocalize, and when they do, they use infrasounds that are undetectable to the human ear. Unfortunately though, the Okapi might not be around for that long, as the population has been on a very steep decline for the past few decades. The Vampire Deer. Once thought to be extinct, the vampire deer was spotted again in 2008 in Afghanistan, for the first time in over 60 years. No, the animals don't run around sucking blood, but hey, they're pretty creepy either way. They are herbivores, but their name is mostly thanks to the protruding fangs that are observed in males. The fangs, or tusks, are just overgrown canine teeth, with their lengths ranging anywhere from 2 inches to slightly over 3 inches. Females can have the fangs too, but they're usually way smaller, averaging less than half an inch. In males, the tusks are loosely held, which enables the animals to pull them back and out of the way during feeding. The 2 teeth are mostly useful during encounters with other males, and in those moments, each deer draws in his lower lip, which pulls the tusks together, making them very formidable weapons. The Saiga Antelope. Saiga antelopes are basically living fossils as they've been around since the Ice Age. Going by their current range in numbers, though, they might not have that long to live. Once found all over Europe and Asia, the Saiga population is now restricted to a few parts of Siberia and Mongolia. Thankfully, there are some conservation efforts that are underway, so there's some hope for the animal's future. Just like other antelopes, Saigas also have horns, although this is restricted to males. Unique to these antelopes, though, is that the horns are translucent and appear waxy. But their most outstanding feature is the large, fleshy nose that helps filter out dust and cool the antelope's blood during the summer. This also allows the blood to heat up in the cold air before it reaches the lungs during winter. The Tardigrade. Lots of animals in the wild are tough, but none of them can quite measure up to the tardigrades, small, microscopic, 8-legged animals that can survive the most grueling conditions. Grueling in this case means 30 years without food or water, absolute zero and above boiling point temperatures, and extreme pressure. Something like 6 times what you'd expect in the ocean's deepest trenches. Heck, the tiny creatures have even been to space and back, setting a record as the first animals to survive in perhaps one of the most hostile environments in the entire frickin' universe. The tardigrade's endurance is thanks to a unique protein in their bodies dubbed a damage suppressor that works to protect their DNA in extreme conditions. Thorny Devil. Despite the name, the Horny Devil is actually a pretty chill lizard, at least if you're not an ant. Most are tiny and average, about 8 inches in length, a size that's not particularly a threat to people. The lizard's, though, is a bit, let's just say out of this world. At a glance, the Thorny Devil appears to have 2 heads, which works pretty well in throwing off predators. The supposed second head is actually just a mass of tissues at the back of the real head, and when attacked, the lizard simply presents the false head by lowering the real head between its legs. And if a predator dives in for a bite, Thorny Devil's entire upper bodies are covered with hard, sharp spines that make swallowing impossible. Camouflage is also a big part of these guys' survival, taking on the desert tans common in their habitat. King Cobra. According to some researchers, the myth of the basilisk, a combination of a rooster and a snake, might have been inspired by the king cobra. Here's some explanations they give. For starters, it was believed that the basilisk used to raise its head just before attacking to either inject venom or kill by a death stare. Mind you, that's exactly how the king cobra operates. Minus the death stare, of course. The mythical basilisk was also hard to kill unless a weasel, the only animal immune to the gaze, was used. That could also be said of the cobra, as only the weasel in this case is the mongoose known for its resistance to snake venom and a sweet tooth for serpent meat. The giant squid. The kraken is one of the most popular mythological creatures, dating as far back as the 18th century. It was believed to be a huge animal with many arms and powerful enough to wreck a ship in one fell swoop. Of course, it didn't exist, but the myth might have been inspired by a real aquatic animal, possibly the giant squid. While it's certainly not as big as the kraken was made to be, the squid is large enough to shock a casual observer. At 60 feet long and weighing 440 pounds, it's the biggest known invertebrate. That being said, it's quite elusive given its deep-sea habitat, consequently making it hard to study. Most of the little info that we actually know has been pieced together from dead specimens, although a live one was captured off the Japanese coast in 2006. The worm lizard. Ever seen a legged worm? Of course you haven't, because it don't exist. Or maybe it just hasn't been discovered just yet. What we do have as a sort of earthworm with legs is the worm lizard, known for their pink bodies and a pair of limbs in some species, and no, they're not related to worms actually. Depending on what you're looking at, they have 2 different modern-day relatives. If you examine their bone structure, they have more in common with snakes, while their genes indicate they're related to a group of lizards called lacertids. An interesting fact about worm lizards is that they can move in either direction quite comfortably, which is why they're referred to as amphisbaenia, the name of a Greek mythical beast with a head on each end. The narwhal. Found in the Arctic coastal waters and rivers, the narwhal is the closest thing we have to unicorns. It's actually a porpoise, distinguished from other porpoises by the presence of a single spiral tusk in males. The tusk is actually an overgrown tooth growing right through the male's upper lip to roughly 10 feet long. While its purpose isn't very clear, scientists believe the tooth could be important for impressing potential mates and determining social rank as well. While certainly useful, the tusk has also made narwhals targets for hunters, consequently leading to a steep decline in their population. Like other porpoises and close relatives, these marine unicorns travel in groups, ranging anywhere from 15 to 20, although hundreds or even thousands aren't uncommon. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it really works. The bald Uakari. This is a pretty unique monkey species, known for its bright red face, which, among the species members, is a sign of good health, and thus increases the chances of finding a mate. Unique about these Amazonian dwellers is that they lack the long tails common among many monkey species, but that hasn't affected their ability to hop from one tree to another, as their arms and legs are just as good for the task and are quite important during foraging. The Uakaris are pretty social, hanging out in groups of up to 100 individuals, although they'll split up when it's time to look for food, usually fruits, leaves, and insects. See you all next time!